Patterson for Star-Telegram. Now that Dak's had a full camp, can you tell us how he's taking control of the offense, ownership of what you guys are trying to, the changes you have made this year?
Yeah, it's been awesome to watch it. Again, I'm going to go back to the spring to do it. You know, you kind of get back in the spring, you start putting in the installation, you go through the stuff he's real comfortable with, you go through some of the new stuff. You watch him just diving into the playbook and just kind of asking questions and trying, okay, hey, that's a little bit different. Let me see that. Hey, give me another. Hey, you got video of that. And then now you come out of first couple weeks of training camp, and to see where he's at from a comfort level, not with everything we're doing, but really with some of the new schemes and some of the old schemes and the way he's able to communicate it. My big belief with quarterbacks is most of them understand what they're doing. It's can they communicate to the other guys. Like, it's fun for me to watch him communicate, talk to the receivers, talk to the running backs. Hey, tight ends, hey, Fergie, here's what I was thinking on this. So I think he's in a really good spot, very comfortable. Obviously, every day in practice is great against our defense. It's fun, it's passionate, great energy. But he's in a real good spot. I think he should be very comfortable and confident right now.
Todd Archer with ESPN. I'm just curious with Tony Pollard and his body type. How do you think he's built for short yardage, goal line? Obviously, Zeke's been that guy here for a long time, compared to maybe other running backs you had in your past.
Yeah, there's different styles. I mean, can Tony be a really good short yards goal line runner? Absolutely. There's a part of that is it's heart and desire as well. It's not just him doing it himself. It's the offensive line. There's certainly things that we can structure, Todd, from a play type and game plan and things like that. But I have no question that he can be very efficient in that role for us. And the thing about when you're going into short yardage and goal line situations, specifically really short yardage, is because the defense is so loaded up a lot of times, when you get through that first level, there's a lot of space behind it. I remember winning a big playoff game against the Chargers, and Sean Green, same thing, short yard situation. Sean kind of broke through. He had one guy left, it was a corner, and it was like a 50-yard touchdown. So, again, his explosiveness, his speed, his finishing skills, I think will make him a very, very good short yardage runner. And the goal line, again, he's not doing it by himself. He's got the guys up in front of him that need to open up some holes and, again, bend back like we preach.
Coach Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Breaking news, Zach is back. Can you talk about just the value of the positive shock waves that emanate from a future first ballot Hall of Famer being dropped right back into the middle of your offensive line?
Well, I mean, number one, it was just awesome to see him. That was the first and foremost. I mean, we were when he first got here, we were in a staff meeting, offensively, and he walked in, and it was just the meeting stopped. I mean, I couldn't get to him fast enough, right? And not because he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, not because of the type of dude he is. I mean, you just talk about a guy that's wired the right way, what he's done for this organization. So it was so good to see him. But again, it's going to be fun. Offensive line play, what's it about? It's about getting guys playing together, getting guys communicating. It's a trust. There's a bond. There's almost like a verbal but nonverbal things that they have to feel with each other. So getting them back at this point makes us feel really good that we can get where we need to get to before opening day. I know he was excited to be back, and I think we had him break it down like 5 or 6 meetings in a row just because we wanted to hear his voice. So awesome to have him back. He looks great, and the guys are thrilled.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. Austin Richards stepped in and started at left tackle on short notice. Does that give you guys some confidence moving forward and, him being able to battle that adversity a little bit?
That was one of the best things that came out of the game, I thought, for me, is, again, watching the young guys compete, right? Number one is watch these guys compete. That first group that was in there got a chance to go up against the Jags first group, which was great. Awesome playing an entire game is great. He played tackle, he played guard, but it wasn't just that. It was watching Wally and where Wally's come from, what he's trying to do, watching TJ Bass, watching Farniak and those guys. So yeah, it's a great group. It's a talented group. It's a group that has to learn to play together. We're moving them around a lot, which is part of what you do during training camp. But for Awesome to go in and play left tackle against the Jags one and then move into guard at the second half is not an easy thing to do. And so he did a nice job. Certainly things to clean up. But again, there was a lot of really good things that we did from an offensive line standpoint in the last game.
Position has evolved since you broke into the league, even when your dad was coaching.
Sure.
There's always this talk about can Pollard carry a full load, but that's changed over the last couple of years. How do you think he can carry a 10, 15, game, running the ball and obviously catching the ball.
Yeah, the game has definitely changed, but even when we had, 2 and 3 big backs going, Thomas Jones, Sean Green, guys like that, Kevin Barlow, dating myself, but nobody can do it by themselves. It's just too physical of a game. But again, we talked a couple weeks ago. Tony is ready to be, running back number 1. He's ready to be the guy, and there's nothing that we will shy away from a scheme standpoint with him. Like everybody, there's things that he's going to be more comfortable doing, but I have zero concerns about his body type, anything we're doing. I just love the explosive playmaker he is. I love the way he works in practice. There's a quiet confidence about him that you feel, but you also feel his speed. He's one of the guys when you're out there in practice that you feel his speed, whether he's running a toss play towards the sideline or whether he's running a route. You feel his speed. It's real. And again, I think there's no question in my mind he's ready for this role.
Clarence Forward Star Telegram. Yesterday we saw, even during the Mojo Moment, you had Turpin and Vaughn on the field together. How's it an advantage for you guys?
Well, again, we obviously want to play with space. We want to be able to play tight. Again, we're trying to find all the different positions that guys can play. Position flex for us is big, right? Whether it's receivers, whether it's tight ends, whether it's running backs, we're trying to identify their skill sets and what they're good at. And anytime you have guys like that, along with CD, MG, Brandon, there's certainly speed. But again, we're looking for position flex. We're looking for guys that can do multiple things. And then part of it is how much can those guys handle from a mental makeup? Okay, hey, what is too much with them? What are they comfortable with? What are they good with? But it was something that we just want to play with. And then this week we'll have something else we want to work on from a personnel standpoint. So it's us figuring out our chess pieces so we feel good going into the opener about, okay, where does this package fit? Where does this package fit? And then who's in play with those things.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio. Jalen Brooks has had such a strong camp, but what do you want him to specifically apply in this second game and game action that he's done here? And Brad had asked Coach McCarthy earlier in the week specifically about Jalen, like was he maybe too fast in that game? And Coach said yes. So.
Yeah, you guys nailed it. And I talked to JB about it. It felt like he was a little bit sped up. First game, he's got his shiny uniform on, right? You guys have seen what he's done all training camp, right? I mean, he's been unbelievable. So he was a little bit sped up in the game, but here's what I loved about it. So talked about it, made the corrections, got some things adjusted, and then this week of practice has been right back to what it was. So he didn't sulk, he didn't hang back and be frustrated by the fact that maybe he didn't get as many touches and targets and things like that. He went right back to work. He was back there before the first practice doing his routine, getting his mind right, getting his body ready to go. So again, I think that shows the maturity about him, and I love the fact because there's going to be adversity, right? There's going to be adversity in every game. There's going to be adversity during the season, but for a young player to show that maturity to where, hey, you want to go out there, you want to play great, but that's what preseason's for, making mistakes. But for him to respond the way that he did, I know got my respect, and I think most of the other position groups on offense saw the way he worked this week in practice. So credit to him.
When you guys are evaluating the running back position from the preseason standpoint, do y'all take into account the protection advantages or disadvantages that they have up front, or is it, these are the cards you were dealt, you got to play? Yeah, I
mean, the cards are what they're dealt. Every player, when we look at it, right, there's a run game, a run grade, there's a protection grade. Again, runs that don't work aren't always the back's fault. Sometimes there's different things, whether it's the line. Sometimes it's the quarterback being too flat with his ball handling and things like that. Maybe a receiver doesn't get a crack block on a safety. But when you're out there playing and competing, nobody cares who you're playing against or with. We're a family. We're a brotherhood. And, again, we expect them to play to the highest level, and that's our standard, and that's what we expect.
When do you guys start looking at the Giants?
Probably the next, week to 10 days. Again, division opponent. We know them well. But we're just finishing up the installation phase. We're pretty much done with the installation phase. Get through this game and then one more game. But we'll start doing a little bit more on them in the next, week to 10 days. And it'll be a fun matchup. Look forward to going up there on Sunday night.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.